D&D is a game, and while not all games are made for kids, a lot of them are. The new D&D starter set lists 12 and up as its starting point for the game, but I think you could probably adjust this based on the kids that are playing the game. But that begs the question, how do you actually run a role-playing game for kids? Let's think about it. Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian, and we release new videos weekly, so please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the content. This is actually going to be my first in a series about D&D for kids, or actually any role-playing game. So today I'm going to cover a few of the basics. Beyond the fact that D&D is awesome, role-playing games are a great way to encourage problem solving, teamwork, communication, creativity, and even some math. Yeah, even math. Most importantly, for me at least, they can help build empathy. Role-playing a character is often quite literally about understanding and sharing the feelings of another person, even if they're imaginary. And building connections with the other players and their characters takes a certain amount of emotional intelligence. And it's baked right in there. It's a core concept of what a role-playing game actually is. If you follow the channel, you'll know that I am a big fan of Session Zero. In my opinion, it's even more important with kids. I'll link to my Session Zero video somewhere to provide more information, but here are some key considerations that you'll need to make for a kids game. In Session Zero, you need to make sure that you ask about the types of adventures that the kids are actually interested in. Finding out about some of their favorite movies and TV shows or even cartoons that they watch can also be a good starting point for this. You really are trying to draw out what they want to do, what's the adventure that they want to go on. And instead of jumping into character classes, it may be better to ask about the types of heroes that they like most. And that can easily spring out of the conversation about those favorite movies and TV shows, by the way. You should also ask about how they see themselves taking on the villain in a battle. Do they picture their character swinging swords or shooting bows or wielding magic of some kind? And how about outside of the battle? Are they working out to stay strong or reading books to find out more information about things or even investigating clues in between battles? Maybe they're practicing new spells. Then I would suggest providing some choices about the character races or species. Too many choices can get pretty tricky, so it's good to limit it to just a few when you're starting out. And speaking of limits, it's a good idea in Session Zero, as always, to ask about some limits. What are some things that are too scary for the game? This may differ from kid to kid, but this is your chance to talk about it while everybody's comfortable. After you've covered the basics, I recommend either character creation together at the table, especially if you're rolling up new characters, or choosing pre-generated characters that best fit each one of the personality types and gameplay styles that they're hoping for. And finally, don't forget to show them the dice. Rolling dice is a hit with anybody playing D&D. It's one of the things that make it so much fun to play. Pro tip: get some pill boxes. You know, those ones with the 7 compartments for the days of the week? They're perfectly sized for a single die. Then just relabel the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with the type of die. That way, when you say roll a d20, they can just pop open that pill box, take it out of the container, use it, and then put it back in the spot, and they'll never mess up their dice, and it'll be quicker for you. And it won't be that long before they know all the dice and what they're used for. D&D rules can be kind of heavy, or at least complicated, to a younger player. But it usually doesn't take long for the kids to pick it up and learn the rules and run with them. That said, I recommend lightening it up a little bit for a kids game. It's better for you and better for them. Here are a couple quick tips. For 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, I use the sidekicks. The expert, warrior, and spellcaster sidekick classes are a good way to get the basics out of any character concept. You can really do a lot just with those. And with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, they made the sidekick classes combine well with all the other regular classes. So eventually, if you need to, you can actually start as a sidekick and then move into another character class or add on character class levels of that character class. But you could also just take that sidekick, make it easy, go all the way up to 20 eventually, whatever works for you and your table. Keep it simple, that's the point. But there are other systems that may fit your needs even better. No Thank You Evil by Monte Cook Games and Hero Kids Fantasy RPG by Hero Forge Games are a really great option for kid-centered games. But you could also homebrew your own game rules down to something that works best for you and your table, and make it as light as you need to. Back when I was teaching elementary school, I was the teacher that the kids went to about the latest superhero or fantasy or sci-fi movies. Yeah, they knew I was a geek pretty easily. I was actually teaching when the Harry Potter book series was being released, so I often had some geek philosophy discussions with the students at recess about what they thought might happen in the next book. Yeah, those were the good old days. And I was often surprised about the things that they picked up on in the story and the themes within the book. Sure, Harry Potter was a youth series, but it did deal with some complex elements, especially for 5th graders. For those of you outside of the US, that's ages around 10 to 11. So having said that, I don't think I could have had the same type of discussions at recess about the Song of Ice and Fire. Game of Thrones hadn't come out on HBO yet, but I knew the topics in that book series were a little mature for 5th graders. With a role-playing game like D&D, your content and subject matter can vary just as much. You could have a Quidditch-themed adventure in D&D just as easy as you could run an adventure similar to the Red Wedding. So yeah, that's a pretty wide variety of content that's possible with this game. And while I usually recommend discussing the content rating of your game in Session 0, I think it's even more important, obviously, in a kid's game. Or maybe not obviously to some of you, but for me, it's obvious. You need to make sure you understand that. Maybe even talk to parents if you need to. So when it comes to writing the campaign or the adventures, you know I prefer writing my own. But there are some really great options out there for kids these days. Monster Slayers, the Champions of the Elements, is a free download on the Wizards of the Coast website. The adventure was written by Susan J. Morris, and it's appropriate for ages 6 and up. And the rules have even been simplified, so it's a quick and easy way to get started with the game and just start playing right off the bat. And if you're looking for an ongoing set of adventures, check out the D&D Adventure Club. They have a monthly subscription where they send you a new adventure every month to your mailbox. And they only do it in print. They don't do the digital versions. It's just they like to do things a little old school, which is kind of cool. They also have a D&D quick start guide with instructions and an adventure and the character sheets, and it's all kind of pared down for a kid's version of the game. But again, you could always just homebrew your own adventure. I think you can get a lot of gameplay out of the ideas that the kids brought up during your Session 0. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay, thanks for taking the time to hear about my thoughts about running a role-playing game for kids. Again, this is the first in a series, so stay tuned for more, because I've got some ideas brewing about what I want to do with this whole topic for my own personal game, but yeah, stay tuned. And in the spirit of this whole topic, I thought it would be appropriate to leave you with a little geek philosophy from the one and only Mr. Rogers. When children pretend, they're using their imaginations to go beyond the bounds of reality. A stick can be a magic wand. A sock can be a puppet. A small child can be a superhero. Cheers.